Been crazy week.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of basically everyone's got COVID at this point that I know.
I mean, like everyone
Except
you
me
know.
somehow.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm somehow like magically like immune. We're not live yet, right?
Kind of. I think we're live.
Oh,
Depends.
okay, fair enough.
Just not like
But
fun live.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, it's been a crazy time. Everyone's been getting it and I've
Mm-hmm.
just been doing my thing. So luckily no one's actually gotten like seriously sick or anything like that. So yeah, I mean got to act like holidays were normal and do the Christmas thing, and so that was good.
Yeah, same here. I got a weird family though, so I just kind of was hanging around with the wife's family instead, and that's fine. But yeah,
Fair
nothing.
enough.
It's been. I'm just pretty sure that like the world. I think I've been ready for the world to be crazy for a very long time now. And
Yeah.
the world has been crazy for a little while. And at this point, I think all the crazy's out of the system. To like, at least it's just out on the table, and I've just adjusted, and life is fine and normal and great for me. Just like people freaking out about, oh, but the crypto crash and all this kind of stuff, and just like, all right, like which one? Like the eighth crash you've been through? Like how many? Who cares?
Yeah. I feel like for a lot of people right now they're getting hit with like cognitive dissonance because there's just so much that
Mm-hmm.
they thought was a certain way that is just like obviously not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've been like thinking for the longest time that things were going to go bad, and the only way that I can really, or the most
Mm-hmm.
effective way that I can do something about it is to just like stack crypto, more or less.
Yeah.
Is the way that I've been doing it anyways. So like none of this is really surprising.
Stacking currently.
Anyone that I know who is used to be conspiratorial is now just like accurate.
Yeah, I mean, stack crypto and learn how to use it and just get on top of the new world because the old
Mhm.
world, I mean, wasn't that good anyway. But so we have three watching on Odyssey, and it says one on YouTube, although that tends to lag or whatever. But at least two people I know have commented, Hilawi and one time, and Hilawi's nice enough to wish you a happy birthday. One time
Much
he'll get
appreciated.
around to it. He's a nice guy. Um, but yeah, let us actually officially kick things off now that we're 3 minutes into the chitter chatter, which is funny. Whenever I do the audio only versions of the podcast, I always get like people complaining about like I don't like all the chatter in the beginning. I'm like, so I have to chop that stuff off anyway. So hey everyone,
True.
happy Friday. Let's just roll the intro and get right into this thing. So, happy Friday, everyone. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Digital Cash Rundown. I'm joined by the one and only Scott C. Business, aka Scott Cunningham, aka the diluter of milk and juices, aka the crypto mastermind, aka number one ham. How's it going, man?
I love it. I love it. It's going good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Uh, you got a birthday coming up soon, if not like nowish, right? Is it this weekend?
Yeah, it's Sunday the ninth.
Nice. Well, I don't have a stream on Sunday, so that's why we're doing it now. But yeah, well, happy
Yeah.
birthday. I hope you have a great birthday weekend. Might as well start off with something good here. So, in case
Yeah.
for everyone who watched the show many times before, you might know something different. I have my coin tree thing blocked out because we are paywalling Scott today, but it's not on my coin tree; it's on his. So if you go to cointr.ee/Scott C Business, Scott is in Scott, C is in Cunningham. Business is in, mean serious business. You just go there, you leave a tip, and it should jump up on the super chat. Now, I will disclaimer: the super chat is a little wonky. Let me just show right here. It is a little wonky since I added this little special thing, but whatever. It should show up. This was the last tip it got from the nudge, high nudge, by the way. Hopefully he's watching. On thinking you had to teach him whatever. But I will read it off regardless, even if doesn't show up. But just know that it's there. I'll be keeping an eye on the actual thing and answering any stuff. So, Scotty C's paywalled, and yeah, let's just dive right into the stuff. So first off, not really a headline necessarily, but just life. How you been handling the dip?
Yeah, that is definitely the big one. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen. I mean, like with like
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk tweets and stuff. But yeah, I
That
mean, it's
bastard.
definitely like it's definitely not ideal. Um, I still anticipate a big like rise before we see like an actual crash, because I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
say any of these have been like a crash.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of what I'm doing. But I mean, either way, I know crypto's a long-term game. When I first got in, I got in before the 2017, 2018 crash. I know what this is all about. It's just a waiting game, and obviously picking the good the good, cryptos, the best fundamentals, etc. I was just making a video today, and I was saying
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's as much about like finding the 100x gem. It's more about like having good financial discipline, personal financial skills, budgeting, just like doing all the right things. It's not really about like finding the perfect asset, I would say. And that's the way that I've been going forward and going about it. So for me, it's not like, oh, like, did I pick something wrong? Do I need to change things? It's more about like just keep doing what I'm doing, keep staying the path, and yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely like it is funny how uh so many people like in previous crypto cycles, I feel like maybe I'm just biased to my own life story because I came about in leading up to the 2013 bull run, and I mean that was the first time that any crypto like crested 1,000, like anyone paid attention. These other bull runs were it was all like micro community stuff, but this is like
Mm.
people wrote articles in mainstream like news outlets about crypto for the first time. People were like, "Whoa, my gosh, what's this Bitcoin stuff doing?" And for that to go crash down, I don't know how many people were like, "Oh, it's all over." I remember crypto people who were like, "Oh, this sucks. All my money's in crypto, and it's like I don't have as much." But no one was like, "Oh, this is it. This is the end." But then 2017 was different. That was like the era of BitConnect and stuff, and just all
Hmm.
this crap going up. Oh, IOTA's going forever, and like just and then it all goes back down. And I mean, first off, do you really think that this is the start of the bear market, or do you think it's just like the lull before the storm? That it's really by March we're gonna have like the melt everyone's faces off thing.
Yeah, I definitely think this was like the lull before the storm. I've been anticipating the huge rise. I mean, I follow
Mm-hmm.
the Bitcoin halving theories as being
Mm-hmm.
very impactful and substantial. And we really haven't seen that crazy run up and crash like we normally do.
Yeah.
And we've also got ETH 2.0 on the way, hopefully soon. So yeah, I really think this is like the calm before the storm, and I'm still super bullish. And yeah, I mean, I also thought it was interesting that like right before the big dip, Safe
Mm-hmm.
Moon rugged for the second time, which I thought I didn't know if that was somehow aligned, but like I thought that was wild.
Yeah, they should rebrand as Unsafe Wrecked because it's neither safe nor moon. Just,
Yeah.
just
Well, I watched them rug a third time. I mean, you've got Safe Mars, you've got all these other ones that are also just like trying to copy it too. So much nonsense. I think Soldier Boy actually endorsed Safe Mars before that rugged.
so much nonsense. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, according to just the way I've seen stuff happen, it doesn't feel like we had the peak. According to 4-year cycle theory, which this is all like TA nonsense that I don't really care about. That's not what I'm in it for. But according to that stuff, it seems like we've already seen the best of it, and you already seeing some people showing some bearish sentiment. Peter Schiff is having a field day already, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm hopeful for another big old blow off before that. But it's kind of funny. Like, there's so much money in the space now, and so many projects. Like back in the early days, it was donation only kind of things. People figured out, or they got a
Hmm.
foundation together, and then in the advent of DAOs, there's been shockingly few DAOs actually. It's been like, Dash obviously kicked it off, at least in the major DAOs. There's always this argument of like, well, was BitShares first, or did that count? But BitShares isn't really I don't know if they're really a thing anymore. But then like there's a Decred, there's like a couple others, but then of course there's the big old VC boom where everything just almost Ethereum style had like giant ICO type stuff. And I guess you could call it the Solana age of today. And what are they going to do in the bear market? Because that's, I think, the real test of like longevity. Anyone can keep growing and doing stuff when you have oodles of money, but if you're still here when
Hmm.
everything's crashing, like that was like the bear market bottom was when you started hearing like Ethereum Classic start to lay off all their development team or whatever it was. I'm not being factually correct necessarily here. I'm just what I remember. But I remember at
Hmm.
the bottom of the last bear market, you saw a lot of like dev teams folding, and that's going to be the real thing. I want to see if people are insulated against in this coming time.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, for sure. And also on the DAOs thing, I'm seeing a lot
Mm-hmm.
more like kind of like I don't know what the right word is. Like maybe not shilly, but like just sketchy, kind of like potentially scammy DAOs popping up.
Yeah,
Um,
everything's a
Two
DAO.
right off the top of my head. Recently, someone was like, "Oh, like check this DAO out. Maybe invest in this. You can stake." I looked at both of them and I was like, "You got to be joking!" Like Wonderland.time, ticker time. You can stake in their DAO, and they claim you'll get 65,000 APY.
Well, now you know what the old saying is true. Time equals money.
Yeah,
Um,
apparently you can put in $1 and get $65,000 in a year. Like in what
yeah.
world? Right? Like, and then the other DAO was like 6,000% APY. Like, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a DAO, no financial logic applies anymore. And people are like, yeah, but like it could
Yeah.
work and it looks pretty cool. And it's like, what
Let
is
me read this
happening?
thing
Like,
before it glitches off the screen again. But you got a super
sure.
chat. Hey Scott, will this upcoming bear market for BTC not drop as much because of institutional investments? Oh, it's already gone. So, what do you think? You think it's not going to be as low
That is a,
because of institutional investments?
yeah, I've always said that, like, I don't think we'll ever go like below the previous all-time high from the previous cycle, essentially, because every
Mm-hmm.
time we get such a padding from institutions that there's just
Mm-hmm.
no way that they're going to sell at a loss. Like it's just not going to happen. So I just don't see us going below like 30, 35,000. I mean, that's almost scary to even say that we could go that low, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't think that would ever happen again. So I'm always kind of framing it in my mind that we're never going to go below the previous like major all-time highs because of the amount of institutional money that comes in to hold that up. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, that's not guaranteed or anything like that. That's just the way that I'm looking at it. Um, but yeah, I'm still pretty bullish on Bitcoin and Ethereum, at least for the next 3 to 6 months, depending on where the rise and fall happens. But I know you say it's all like TA nonsense. I hate TA too, and I think most of it's nonsense. But I do give a lot more like legitimacy to something like the halving theories because it's like hard
Mm-hmm.
coded in versus just like TA. But
Yeah.
that's just my take on that. But like normally I'm like, yo, TA is nonsense. Like this is silly.
Now the thing about the TA, or the thing about the halving stuff is that's very specifically Bitcoin related, and as Bitcoin's
Hmm.
share of the market just dwindles, and that's not necessarily criticism or anything. It just as the space becomes bigger and less of it
Hmm.
is BTC related, I wonder if that will be affected. It's interesting because like as you're talking about ETH 2.0 and stuff like that, which on a market-wide sort of a context, I think it's an interesting point because Ethereum's just been like, oh, the alt season leader in the past and stuff. But Ethereum is the kind of the cornerstone of so much of the space now, probably a lot more than Bitcoin. And
Hmm.
whether or not it scales might be you know, that might be a pretty big,
That's the big
indicator
question.
on the rest kind of thing. Well, let me just hit on
Hmm.
this one real quick. So I'm gonna kind of go through some of these in reverse order because I'm a backwards weirdo. But rapper Nas to let fans own part of his music through NFTs. So legendary hip hop icon Nas will drop non-fungible tokens that will let users own streaming royalty rights to the songs Ultra Black and Rare, and it's doing on this platform called Royal, which I believe is an Ethereum based thing. I looked into their site a little bit, and I believe that you can buy the NFTs through with fiat, but also through USDC on Matic on Polygon, right? The
Okay, so they're
Ethereum
doing it
wallet.
like effectively. That's good.
Yes, and I haven't used Matic at all, but I did read somewhere someone was complaining about like a 58-cent fee or something on there. It's getting so expensive, which it's valid, but it's still way better than Ethereum fees. But the entire just point of this is it seems like in addition to just being like a cool NFT, like oh, it's a collectible, whatever, it does seem like it's kind of like you're owning a part of his business at this point. So, what's your hot take on this thing?
So just before I give my hot take on that, I'll say
Yes.
for the fees, I've noticed that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the like ETH killers, quote unquote, their
Mm-hmm.
fees are going up a lot. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
be ETH sooner than later in terms of fees, so they're not really gonna be presenting much of a better solution. Like I was getting into Luna staking, and then it was like $2 for the gas fee, and I was like, this is gonna be ETH sooner than later. This is pretty new already. Like that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like BNB's getting like over $1. Everything's going way, way up. So it's like I think the gas thing is kind of silly, but I mean, it really depends what ETH ends up doing with their thing. But my take on this is, though it would be nice if this was like the new thing and everyone really believed in NFTs, I'm like 99% of the mind that it's like a marketing thing. Like he'll do this
Mm-hmm.
one time and he'll never do it again. He'll never mention Royal again. It was probably a paid promotion through Royal. Um, Everyone else who's ever launched an NFT song has done it one single time and never mentioned it again. I made a video yesterday about NFTs and why I don't think it's really time to buy or invest in them, because right now it's just
Mm-hmm.
cashing in. Like influencers and celebrities are just cashing in on NFTs right now. So most of it is digital fluff. It doesn't
Yeah.
really like it's not very valuable. It's not going to be valuable in the future. I am bullish on NFTs as a technology and what we
Mm-hmm.
could do and where we will go. But 90% of the space right now is being cashed in on by like influencers and stuff. And there's tons of scams. You got people like Logan Paul doing like Crypto Zoo, where he's just taking Adobe stock photography and then saying it's like original, and all these scams, nonsense, all this stuff. I don't think anyone's like really that gung ho on NFTs, and people are just cashing in.
Mm-hmm.
But I am bullish on NFTs as a technology in the future.
Yeah. In this, like, it's kind of that's kind of where I'm conflicted on this story in particular because I think that obviously NFT is cool, whatever. This use case is one of those awesome use cases for NFTs of you can
Yeah.
actually own a piece of something, and it's sort of in a weird way, like um, for example, what I would really love to do is like imagine if you just raise entire all your revenue for your channel, just like raise it by selling people NFTs. I mean, and especially if that can constitute some sort of more than just like a vanity, like oh, people are gonna think these art designs are cool in the future. It's like, well, are they gonna? What if they include a piece of like, like a trace amount of your like portfolio dividends or something like that? If they do that, it's just like, oh, I want to
Hmm.
support this guy and stuff, but like you get something back from that. That's really cool stuff. On the other hand, in this specific case, like one thing I noticed, like the only things that NAS is, as you mentioned, is probably going to be a one-off with this guy in particular. The only things
Yeah.
that they accept were fiat, which is kind of funny, and then the only crypto they accept is Matic USDC, right?
Yeah.
So like,
So it's gonna
uh,
be like only super advanced users, not his audience. Like, yeah, it's kind of silly.
yeah, so it's either going to be like 95% fiat, and then the other people who are buying it are just going to be paying him fiat, basically.
Yeah. And they
It's
won't know
literally
how
what
to
it
sell
is.
it or do anything with it if they're all buying fiat too. Like they're probably all his fans,
Yeah.
not blockchain users, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably going to be just like, just they're going to hold it in some custodial wallet type thing. They're going to be like, "Oh, I got it." And then if they lose their keys, they're going to like reset their password and stuff, and it's all going to be fine. Or, it's going to be that kind of stuff. The thing is, there's two, I guess, concerns to the like practical use case elements of this. Uh, One of them being, how is the technology, like how centered is the technology in the actual use case? Like, what about the NFT gives you these rights? Now, if you like, let's just say you buy a concert ticket and the concert ticket is an NFT, and that
Mhm.
digital proof is what they scan for when they let you into the concert. Like, that's one thing. What he's like promising a piece of his royalties. Well, what are the legal contracts involved with that? Because it literally cannot give you his royalties. It can just say, look, according to this NFT, he promised to give me parts of his royalties on this song. So then what you have to do is then you have to go consult with his lawyers. You got to see like, all right, well, what's the actual contract? What constitutes royalties? Is it just Spotify? And then he might like re-release different. What about different versions of the song? Like at that point, it's all
Yeah.
legal contracts. And do you involve legal contracts with this? And or more importantly, isn't this kind of like selling an illegal security at this point, right? Because you're
Yeah, we talked
giving
about this
him,
last time, didn't we?
probably. I've talked about this a million times.
We
But
talked
like,
about the like the tax implications of NFTs in the future and how that could all get crazy.
yeah. And it definitely, like, can you do that on a non NFT level today with like artists? Can you say, I'm gonna invest in a certain percentage of future royalties? Like, is that a thing today? And I'm sure it's gonna be like KYC out the ass if it is. And which kind
Yeah.
of sort of rolls into and I don't really speak very much on this one, but uh the SEC files a complaint against operator of unregistered 33 million crowd machine ICO, which ICO tokens from the, what is it, the crowd computer were sold to Americans as investment contracts, according to SEC's complaint, which classifies them as securities. So the SEC is going after classified securities, and if you're selling like parts to your royalty stuff, that wouldn't that be a security, and wouldn't the SEC go after you for that? Not that I think they should, not that I give a crap about that stuff, but it does just seems kind of risky to me. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I mean, if rich people are creating NFTs, the SEC is probably like, sweet, this is going to be a great way to get all the money from them that we couldn't get before. So, yeah, I mean, they're probably going to love this, and it's probably going to be really unideal for people issuing these NFTs and doing all this kind of stuff for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like the art loophole before NFTs was still a loophole in things. And I like, if you're selling tokens, fungible tokens to people, and you have some sort of guarantee, some sort of attachment to that, to the profitability of whatever you're buying it of, right? Like an artist or a company. That seems like a pretty cut and dry security. Not that I think there should be securities laws really, at least not enforced like that. Like I do think you should, like I think if you decide to do Scotty C's tacos and have a little taco wagon, and you just want to sell 1,000 tokens, and everyone who buys a token, and then every taco sale you do is programmatically of the gross, a very small portion of that goes out to the token holders. And like, I think that's absolutely a security, but I think you should be able to do that with no paperwork. I think you should be able to do it, and if people don't want to, buyer beware, right? But the reality is
Mhm.
that people will be cracking down on things like that. Now, if you sell an NFT and this is just cool, it's like part of your thing, but it also comes with exclusive access, like, oh, you get into all these cool things. That's not really a security, it's, or you get discounts on stuff, you get whatever special. That's not really security. It's just when you start doing a revenue share model is where I think you kind of run into some kind of issues.
Yeah, at that point, you just need a DAO, not like an NFT, right?
Yeah, and at the point with the DAO, if you sell people DAO tokens to your DAO that you made and you made all the tokens, that's still kind of a security, right? You just,
Hmm.
I mean, if you start a DAO from scratch and like everyone participates and and there's no LLC and there's no actual profits really, kind of, that's a much different story than just you know you just I made my own taco DAO, but then like taco
Yeah.
DAO, like you created all the tokens and sold them to people. That's sketch at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's see what else we got. So, speaking of the old NFT craze and stuff, GameStop, GameStonks, right? The GameStonks jumped 26% in the after hours trade after the NFT division was unveiled. So GameStop reportedly hired 20 members for its new NFT division and is close to securing partnerships with two crypto firms for NFT game development. And all right, hot take time.
Ugh. Uh, this is what I said in my video yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
99% of games made for like blockchain NFTs and stuff like that, they suck
Mm-hmm.
because they build the games backwards. They say,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to make NFTs and there's going to be a game built around this. How do we make this happen? Let's just do this backwards and make it work.
Yeah.
What needs to happen for an actual good video game is you build a video game and then you add NFTs to it. Or you just add NFTs to games that are already good. You do
Mm-hmm.
not build a game backwards from the idea that you want NFTs to be included because that's just a money grab, and that's what all the games are right now. Anyone who's
Yeah.
actually like tested all the NFT games, 99%, not all, they are really terrible, and it's 100% like you giving them money more or less and gambling because you're trying to get like a better item. So then you spend a little bit, and then you do a fight, and then hopefully you get a better item, and you spend a bit, and it's basically gambling mixed in with just like a very, very basic game. Now, if they were
Mm-hmm.
actually able to do that properly and like build a game and then add NFTs or what have you, that would be very
Mm-hmm.
different. But that's not what we have. It's everything else of just cashing in on NFTs because it's hype right now and you can. And speaking of
Mm-hmm.
that real quick, I
Yes.
didn't release an NFT because I was going to just because it was like it was the thing, it was cool. But as I saw the space more and understood it more and more, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be the guy who's just like profiting off of my followers by selling them a JPEG, that I pay someone $5 on Fiverr to create. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that's just so like, yeah, it's so scummy. So I did not make one, but I mean, I don't knock anyone who did because like
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do it just for testing purposes, but then I was like, I would probably sell this if I did make it, so I'm just not even going to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of things are just cashing in on it right now. It's pretty wild.
That's the thing that I've been kind of wrapping my head around. There's a high likelihood that I'm going to do some NFTs for this channel, but I was chatting a lot with Ken Bozak about this, and he is just at the extreme end of like, and he's an NFT maximalist. Like everything, he's sold so many, he's made so much off of selling them. People want to buy it, they want to buy it. I guess I'm not. I would probably buy one of his just because he's been helpful to me. But like, as far
Mhm.
as I don't think I'd
I'd be
sell.
curious, are people
Yeah.
buying those and then like making money off of selling them later, or is it really just like supporting the person and like that's why you're doing it and it's kind of like an art thing?
I think it's probably a good mix between those. And then there's a third option, which I don't think is going to last for very long, is just like people freaking love NFTs, and they want to buy them. And this is it's funny because we get to human psychology. Humans love collecting things, and like if you think
Hmm.
about all the collectibles that have happened over the years, like whether it's Beanie Babies or whatever, those things aren't super, like they don't do anything for you. Sometimes, like if you're into stuffed animals and you want rare ones, sure, but sometimes people just want a thing. People do metal detecting. Oh,
Hmm.
I found this rare coin that, like, okay, whatever. Like people want to just, it's a very primate instinct to just like you grab the shiny thing, just there's a shiny thing, I'm gonna grab it. It's what people do. It's part of who we are. And so sometimes if you just give them that rush, it's just like playing the slot machine. People, new shiny thing to get, I want the shiny thing. If it's shiny enough, I'll get it. It's so
Hmm.
what I've been sort of grappling, obviously I want to run an ethical life. I don't want to like scam people. I'm not into that stuff at all. So probably at the beginning, at least, I'll just do ones that let you into, because there's a bot that lets you into a Telegram channel if you have the NFT. And I'll probably just do that as
Hmm.
a simplification of the super chat thing, because I got a lot of people that comment in the live chat who are like supporters, and
Hmm.
not all, they don't always send like a something through Cointree, because sometimes the Cointree chat is clunky. Sometimes they do like a Odyssey hyper chat, but it's so hard to get the LBC token and all this kind of stuff, and like it's just a pain. But like if people just, all right, you buy an NFT, $100 or whatever, you're in the chat now. Like now you just don't have to worry about that. It's just like a
Yeah.
support the creator, but you get this specific thing out of that. But like no way am I gonna pretend this anything's more than you're buying because you support the channel / want the perks that come that come explicitly promised with it.
Yeah, I think things like that, like subscription loyalty based things, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the more realistic uses of NFTs today versus like art and stuff like that. Also, real quick, touching on
Mm-hmm.
library,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know, man. Library
Here we
makes me
go.
so sad now. They dropped their monetization by like 90%, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this isn't really gonna work. I mean, unless we get the ad model soon, like people are just gonna be like, yeah, I mean, I'm making 90% less. I'm not going to stay. Like that's pretty obvious. I'm pretty much just like 100% gung ho on Hive now because it's
Mm-hmm.
the only platform to like as far as I know, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the only platforms that is fully decentralized because obviously library controls the monetization, so it's not fully decentralized. I would say DTube is also pretty good, but it's a lot harder to use and it's a little more obscure. But yeah, that's why I got my Hive pillow right there.
Yeah. Right in the
Yeah.
background. Well, yeah, that's the thing about like library is an interesting subject because they have like in the way they it's probably one of the platforms at the base protocol level that's the best designed as far as a completely actually decentralized and in theory sustainable protocol. The
Hmm.
challenges they ran into, the only reason we care about library today is because they built a good end user product on top of it, which a little bit library desktop, but mostly library.tv and then Odyssey now. And the problem is
Hmm.
there's been an increasing divergence between the library protocol and Odyssey. More specifically, the token is just so difficult to do stuff with because of the SEC lawsuit mostly. And it's listed in few places. It's hard it's hard to make it completely useful. And all the stuff when you have newbies onboarded or just non-crypto people, they want a censorship resistant platform, and they just come on board and they want to monetize, of course. And it would have been
Hmm.
so easy to just be like, all right, well, let's just have a little like MoonPay or whatever widget where you donate with fiat with a super chat, it gets converted to credits, and then it supports the ecosystem. But since they can't do that, now it's just like, well, we'll give you some LBC here and there, and that'll allow you to post stuff to the platform to make sure it's like backed up on a decentralized network. But we got to handle the monetization a different way.
Hmm.
And like the core product is good. The problem is like Odyssey's stuck in this for now stuck in this midway point between, are we just like running on a crypto platform thing, or are we doing fiat monetization in old school methods like advertising? And I, for one, am very, I guess, I would be very bullish about Odyssey as soon as they add like an advertising model, especially if you could like do a quick pay a credit to like they're doing some interesting stuff with stickers, which are not quite like NFT esque,
Oh yeah, like you can do. Yeah, yeah, I saw
that
that.
are
Yeah.
tied to credits. But like the thing is, the library, the Odyssey, I should say, because library's its own thing, right? And maybe I'll have to chat with Jeremy about where library's going outside of Odyssey, but they're stuck in it. They're in a midway point. They're between monetization models. They're between profit models, and so like I can't really speak much for that right now because it's not they don't whatever they're doing they're not doing right now. So, but like
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I think the big issue was they created a model that, I mean, obviously LBC is scarce, so
mm-hmm,
they can't just keep making more and then paying people out. So they knew
mm-hmm,
from the get-go that their little fund was going to run out at some point, and the main
mm-hmm,
issue was just they didn't deliver ads or a
in
new
time.
model within that time frame. So they kind of screwed themselves because they gave themselves too short of a runway, and then they went off the runway, I guess. I'm still like totally supportive of it. Great platform. Still by far the most active users on
Mm-hmm,
blockchain social. Um, doing a great job, but the reality is that like I'm not really going to be earning money there anymore. Like, I might get like 20 $10, $20, but it's going to go down and be less and less. Everywhere else is like doing okay. Like nowhere else is pulling back. So if people look at that and they say, okay, where should I go and post? It's like, well,
mm-hmm,
obviously, probably the ones that are earning good and the earnings aren't going down, especially if the benefits are the same elsewhere or even more so, right?
mm-hmm,
It's not like you're ever going to have this issue on Hive, as far as I know. Um, but yeah, I mean, Library has the UI. They have like the,
mm-hmm.
the the really solid platform, the huge user base. So I wouldn't say don't use it, but yeah, it's very unfortunate. But I'm hoping that they'll be able to get their ad model out sooner than later. And yeah, I would like to hear from Jeremy and see like what his thoughts are and like where they're going and how things are playing out.
Yeah,
I'm getting a bunch of emails that people are like sending me coin trees, so I'm not sure if you're seeing that, but
yeah. I mean, where was the one? And I put on the screen. And I checked like as of 5 minutes ago, but I should recheck that. It's always been a little so CoinTree is completely volunteer maintained, and it's not really been actively maintained a lot lately. Although whenever it's broken, I can yell at someone and they fix it. But um, it's it was never meant for like a super chat function. It wasn't. Oh, there's one more.
yeah, you kind of like made it
Yeah,
work for you. Yeah.
yeah. Bitcoin Jake09. Shout out to Bitcoin Jake09. Throw him a tip if you enjoyed all this stuff. Made this plugin. So really quick, one time says happy. Hey Joel, it's Scott. Oh, he went away. Happy New Year. Happy birthday, Scott. One time. Thank you, one time.
Much
See,
appreciated.
one time is a great supporter of the show, and I if I do some basic NFT drop thing, I'll just give him one of the NFTs because he's more than paid for it already, and it just like gets you into the special chat or whatever automatically. Um, but yeah, so like I think it's funny kind of because the user model that we have is very different from the usual I would say content creator model on platforms like YouTube and Odyssey. We're not very different, but slightly different in that I don't know a lot of YouTubers today who make their money off of ad revenue entirely or even mostly. It's all other stuff like super chats, for example. Like it's in Odyssey has fiat super chats, same way, or like subscriptions and stuff, and just YouTube takes like 20-30%, and Odyssey off of the fiat takes like 5%, and
Mhm.
the ad model is a big part of that. And so for people like us, we're like crypto hobos, just going finding the free coins wherever they're at, floating around, like, and we're kind of like next level of things where we're just looking to use platforms and have the platforms pay us back for our value in a more integrated, holistic sort of a futuristic way. Whereas the old
Mhm.
school thing is we're here to post things. We're grateful that this site gives us a platform to post stuff, but then our content monetizes itself, whether it's through we're selling things on it or whatever. There's two very different users kind of there. And like a lot of
Mhm.
Odyssey's biggest user group is not us. It's the people that just want a platform where they're not going to get censored. And then whatever monetization or gain that they get is in addition, is kind of on top of that. It's not built in. And so I think that you're going to see Odyssey transition to a kinder, friendlier YouTube, but still like a YouTube style model while they start working out their credit things, which they may never. It might be that the library blockchain's exclusive use case is as a backbone, as an archive almost of your channels and your stuff like that, and it just might be like a better YouTube kind of thing. But
I think there's a big caveat that we have to touch on though,
yeah.
that you have to spend LBC and the
Mm-hmm.
fees are going up and now it's becoming harder and harder to get LBC.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone comes from YouTube and it's like, sweet, I can post on this and it's decentralized and I'm not going to have it
Mm-hmm.
deleted. Oh, I have to pay. Oh, what? What is this? That I have to pay for this though? And then and the price is going to go up and up and up as it has been, and it's
Mm-hmm.
harder and harder to get the LBC. So I do see there being
Yeah.
an issue there. That's like the main thing that I see, especially if you're not going to earn it. Because before it was like, oh, okay, well, it was fine. I could watch a few videos, earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's getting harder and harder to earn, and you're getting less and less, and it's going to be harder to actually pay for that. So you're actually going to have to
Yeah.
go out of pocket, and that's going to be a big thing for people.
So I wonder how that's going to work on the UX side from a creator over the long term, because like I wonder, first off, when library fees start going up, if there's still demand to use the network, people are going to be buying the token, which pushes the price up, which is good for people if they can buy it, right? So, but I'm wondering if it's just going to be that Odyssey is going to start, you know, taking revenue from users, and then their expenses are to drop the user's tokens, enough tokens to actually consistently upload videos. Or I wonder if you're going to have to top up your credits to be able to keep uploading every once in a while, and they're going to just sell you that service directly. And if so, I wonder how profitable the rest of it is going to be as a creator. Again, there's a lot of unknowns in there. What I
Hmm.
think would be the absolute perfect thing would be if for somehow, if library could get on Thorchain or some other DEX that just allows you to deposit crypto and spend crypto, and then that just transfers for credits automatically on the platform, and it just, then you could have like a directly monetized kind of holistic system. And the problem is, it's way too small of a fry to ever get on Thorchain, if I'm honest. But
Hmm.
I don't know, like that's kind of the only way forward for like the blockchain centric thing. But like I mean, just the fact that Odyssey and Library built such an impressive thing that no one else has done. What I would really, at the very least, there's a great model to just fork. It's open source code. You could just fork the
Yeah.
library protocol, make a bunch of tweaks of the tokenomics and things, not do a giant pre-mine, which is what bit them in the ass, is like all that stuff. And then like I'm just so glad that library forged ahead and created this model so that now even if library dies, like the progress in technology for a really good content space is just out there, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great point actually. Like if someone sees the value in it, they can just take it and run with it and we might get something, way, way
Mm-hmm.
better. I would also say one more thing for LBC that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of important to consider. Um, the reason that it matters that there was monetization is because that was the incentive to hold LBC. For example,
Yes.
when I post a video, I support my video to get more visibility because I will earn a good amount for doing so. That was the
Mm-hmm.
only incentive I had to keep my LBC, was because I could then boost my videos and earn more LBC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 90% of those rewards are gone. I'm barely earning, and there's really no reason for me to keep my LBC.
Mm-hmm.
So I sold most of it, sold 90% of it,
Yeah.
in line with the drop in monetization. So I still have some so that I can still, boost and I can still earn. But my assumption is once most people realize this, they're going to sell their LBC. But realistically, most people don't even understand LBRY at all and like how supports work to even make your videos more visible. So maybe people just don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
But I sold 90% of my LBC for that exact reason. And I think that's pretty important as to why people would even hold LBC to begin with. Plus, it's also very important to consider that February 14th, all the OG creators are getting a 100K LBC drop, and the price will probably just get destroyed, right? Including myself. So I'm going to sell
Yeah.
all of it as soon as possible on that day that I can, because everyone else is going to be selling it. And it's basically just who gets there first,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But that is
The
the
dumpening
reality that
day.
the whole thing is going to just go. It, it might be done in like a month and a week. Like 5 weeks from now, LBRY might be more or less screwed because everyone might panic sell. And like, I have no idea how many creators got the drop, but it's gonna be a big deal. So yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how it turns out. It seems like the Odyssey has been a wildly, I won't say wildly, but a very successful platform at getting users, at being an alternative, at remaining relatively uncensored, at getting sued by Rumble and getting all the clout from that.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it ends up going, but like that's what I love about the space is that just it moves forward. That there's this giant proof of concept with 30 million visitors, or maybe more. I don't I haven't checked the stats this month, but like there's there's this big thing out there, and it's you can't put the genie back in the bottle right now. We're not going back to YouTube. I mean, we're on YouTube right now, some of us, but I'm saying we're not
Mhm.
going back to a YouTube holds us by the balls kind of a world, ever again. Uh, just to finish that little bit, we were talking about the GameStop thingy. I got to tell because GameStop kind of reminds me of a story I like to tell of this grocery store called Food City. So Food City is a grocery store out in the western part of the U.S. Kind of considered the Kmart of grocery stores, as in just like worse, like lower tier, like the Jack in the Box, like lower tier than Walmart, lower tier than any other whatever, and just also on its way out. And it was like really not doing well. They're closing stores, and at some point they realized there was a whole bunch of Mexicans in the stores, and they're just like, "What's up with this?" And it turns out that the white and pale blue aesthetic, the kind of like slightly dingy look, the vague smell of meat in the atmosphere reminded a lot of southwestern immigrants from Mexico of grocery stores in Mexico, and
Mm.
they were just like so basically they got so terrible as a grocery store, they started to remind people, third world immigrants, of their third world grocery stores. And then they just pivoted 100% to like, we're playing mariachi music, we're stocking all Mexican produce, we're doing everything. And they bounced back. And now it's like the Mexican grocery store, they're doing great. And so GameStop is the same kind of thing. It's kind of like on its way down the dustbin of history. And then it just became like these crypto shit poster trader game stonks people made it in this crazy meme stonk, and then now it's like they're leaning into it. Now they're into the NFT division and all this kind of stuff, and maybe GameStop is going to be a big part of, maybe it's going to still be a viable company for like 10, 20 years. We don't know. They might have hit this accidental, like, and the reason that they were why game stocks was a thing is because the stock was doing terrible, and people were like, "Oh, this is like so easy to manipulate." It's because it was doing so
Mhm.
bad. So because they're doing so bad, might end up being their saving grace. Wouldn't that be wild?
Which is crazy. But in reality, I think them adopting NFTs is just going to be like selling pointless collectibles and not like
Mm-hmm.
building out the next metaverse for video games. It's going to just be some like fluff, pointless stuff. And it's going to be like every other company that tried to cash in on NFTs. They did like one thing and then they're like, all right, that's it. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, you guys don't have a serious like strategy to adopt NFTs and like make it a thing, right? It's like anything. Like like one of the articles that we might cover was talking about like all the brands that jumped in
Yeah,
on
that's
crypto,
actually the one I
and like
queued up next. Let's just hit that one real quick. So the biggest consumer
yeah,
brands that engage with crypto in 2021. I'm just gonna read off a couple of the examples. Like obviously Tesla made waves by buying Bitcoin and saying they're gonna accept it and then not saying and all this stuff. The Dallas Mavericks started accepting Dogecoin, which big lol. Nike's entering the metaverse. Adidas, of course, was entering the metaverse and all this kind of stuff. Clinique was launching NFT based consumer loyalty program, which that is actually a really cool application for tokens or NFTs. Is you just get an NFT every time you buy whatever, and then those can stack up to discounts and things like that. And of course, Coca Cola doing that stuff, and the list just goes on and on. So pretty much, I wouldn't say every major brand, but a lot of major brands have been interacting with crypto, and yeah. So take it away.
yeah. So I mean, I was gonna start off just by touching on the Dallas Mavericks. It's funny
Mm-hmm.
because they kind of like gerrymandered the headlines, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're accepting Dogecoin for their merchandise. It's like, oh, they love Dogecoin. You go and look, it's BitPay accepts every single token in existence. It's like, oh, okay, so they
Mm-hmm.
just accept crypto. This isn't like a Dogecoin thing. I think a lot of it
Yeah.
is just cashing in on hype. Like I keep saying, like they could have just said Dallas Mavericks now accept crypto for merchandise, but Doge was
Mm-hmm.
all over the headlines, so they tried to do like a Doge thing, and that's all this stuff is. Like I don't think a lot of these companies are really that serious. I mean, Tesla's a perfect example. We're accepting Bitcoin now. No, no, we're
Mm-hmm.
not. It's like, oh, okay, well that was quick. Like I thought you were really like into this thing, and it lasted like 3 months before you just decided to reverse it. Nike enters the metaverse. The metaverse, by the way, is like
Mm-hmm.
so centralized, and even all the front ends of the decentralized stuff are centralized because it's like all you have is NFTs. Whatever you built for the metaverse is just like your front end centralized thing. None of the data of any of that stuff is in the NFT. The NFT would
Mm-hmm.
just exist in this little 3D world. And if the 3D world went away, you could spin it back up with the NFTs, but none of that stuff would be there from the original like world that you created. It's all centralized. And the
Mm-hmm.
real metaverse stuff is all like Roblox and like all this stuff. I think companies getting into the metaverse is just more fluff and more hype stuff. Like we have the Centriverse right now, not the
Yeah.
metaverse and not the Decentraverse by any means. So like I think a lot of this, them getting into NFTs and stuff is really just trying to cash in on the metaverse hype and the NFT hype. The only thing that I think is kind of like makes sense is like when they're offering customer loyalty NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense. But when it's just like throwing out NFT collectibles, it's like obviously they don't care about this and they're never going to bring this up again. And it's like it was just like free money. Like thanks.
Yeah, that's the thing about. I mean, we're definitely in. I would call the .com bubble of crypto right now, where
Yeah, yeah.
it's everyone's doing a thing, and they don't know, like they don't know what they're doing yet. These companies, for the most part, but they just know they
Profits
have to
don't
be.
matter. Nothing matters either.
Yeah, they just know it's just kind of a beautiful thing on the free market is crypto is going to be huge. Crypto, NFTs, decentralized blockchain tech, it's going to be literally the way the world runs in the future. And because we have like a relatively free market, because there's like a market, the information of that is tons of money, just like with the .com bubble.
Mm-hmm.
The information that the internet's going to be everything was just tons of money everywhere. And it's a very crude form of information, but it's better than not having the tons of money because these companies might just never go online or never get into crypto until it's like super late. All they know, like they don't know what to do with it. They just know this is huge. I got to get in there somehow. And so they're sort of
Mm-hmm.
flailing around trying to get part of it and coming in on this money grab or whatever. It's ultimately all good. It's just messy right now. And I think it's one thing that's important to see is obviously they're chasing money, and the money is just rewarding anyone who shows up, kind of. The thing is, with everything, you have to have a mutually beneficial exchange of value. Like you give the customer something they want, and you do get something in exchange. And right now they're giving them kind of crypto, I guess, sort of, and then they get money for it. But like when you're talking about loyalty programs, same thing with an NFT. Like you're selling an NFT. Like, here's an NFT, buy it, and it's like, okay, well, what does the customer want? Right now, the customer wants it because it's an NFT, and NFTs are so hot right now. But in the future, customers are going to want something, and it's like, well, okay, I will buy your NFT if I get something out of it. What are they getting out of it? Some of it is like, is it a real unique artwork or something from an esteemed, valued artist, legit artist, and I get to like have like the original. Okay, maybe that. Or what if it's a major brand that only releases like one of these or whatever? Okay, maybe that. More importantly, though, perks. What comes with this? Is there an exclusivity? Is there an after party thing? Is there like a, you know, is there a display case that only works with NFTs and it displays not only the NFT, like not only the image, but it displays the credentials underneath. So if you're in your house and you have like an NFT projector, it'll like it's only configured to show, it shows the legit thing. And so people walking by, if you just had a copy paste, they'd be like, well, you got to knock off. What the hell's this? But there's got to be something it gives you in exchange for that to have long-term value. And that's what I like about the reward program type of a thing. It's like the free NFT with every Happy Meal kind of thing, which is the way of the future. I mean, if it isn't here already, it's going to be that way.
But
But
that is
like,
so digital fluff, though. That's just like being able
mm-hmm,
to say that you've got NFTs, because who's gonna buy that, right?
yeah,
Like who's going to buy that NFT from you? It seems like NFTs going forward is just like, do you want this badge that proves that you did it? And like
mm-hmm,
that's what you're paying for. It's not even like you want this thing, or like it's not like valuable. And I would say like a lot of people buying NFTs are under the false assumption that like this is the hype, this is going to go way up in value, not like, oh, I
mm-hmm,
really want this like Coca-Cola NFT. You know what? I think a
yeah,
lot of the NFT stuff is a misunderstanding of crypto. Like Coca-Cola
mm-hmm,
would thrive if they used to have this thing called Coke Music. It was Hubba
mm-hmm.
Hotel, but it was through Coca-Cola. It was
So like
very
80s
popular.
hair
They
metal,
gave away,
you do a bump and
yeah,
then that kind of Coke music. No, not really.
no, no. Yeah, but like under a Coca-Cola bottle cap, there would be a code, and you would type that into the game, and you would get points in the game, and you could buy stuff
Mm-hmm,
and do stuff. It was like Habba Hotel, essentially, the original
mm-hmm.
metaverse. and
Yes.
um, and Coca-Cola was in on the original metaverse to some degree. They had their own game and everything. That was really smart. They could do that today with like Coca-Cola tokens, and then you earn some and they could be used for something, whether it's like a discount on Coca-Cola products or whatever it happens to be. Like I said, it doesn't actually have to be an NFT for them to do this loyalty stuff. People would love that if under every Coca-Cola cap there was like a redemption to earn a little bit of like of Coca-Cola or cola token or whatever. Or
Yeah.
NFTs, like one in every million Coca-Cola bottles has an exclusive NFT under the cap and you can win it.
Mm-hmm,
Or like the Caramilk secret bar or key or whatever it is. That could all be
mm-hmm.
done flawlessly with crypto or NFTs. They just need to like do it right, but instead they're just like they're just like jamming it into their system and being like, hopefully like people like this, or like it says NFT, and so it's like that's good enough, like, but they're not doing it like tactfully or like thoughtfully. And I think that's the
Yeah.
real like missing component.
Well, it's funny because uh, people have been doing this NFT stuff since way before there were NFTs. Um, as every kid does, I ate a relatively significant amount of McDonald's back in my day, and
Yeah.
I remember all the different. First off, literally the toys with the Happy Meal. That's something the kids want, but also like you got the on the fry containers, whatever. You got like the Monopoly stickers. They let you play Monopoly for prizes, and just like
Yeah.
it would encourage you to keep going back to McDonald's because you get a new little thing that probably was nothing, but you could win something. And I remember we used to
Mm-hmm.
stack like in the cup holders of the cars, you'd have all these little coupons of like free fry, free breakfast sandwich, free this, free that, and like as a part of this like limited promotion thing.
Yeah.
That is literally all going to be an NFT rather than a paper thing in the future. People are going to scan the fry thing and like collect the NFT from that. And it's easy to see like, okay, limited release, like you get it a McRib NFT with every McRib because they only do that one like in a limited rollout. And so then you could just say if you have a last year collection of NFT McRibs, you get a free side with your McRib when they bring it out again. And then you get the
Yeah,
NFT
it's
with that.
genius.
There's tons of cool stuff to be done. I don't know if cool, I mean interesting stuff. Let's settle for interesting. But there's plenty of weird stuff you could do with NFTs that are already part of the way business is done today, and people kind of go after it. Again, people like shiny things, they like loyalty things, they like proof. Like imagine if you bought the first pumpkin spice latte offered by a new hipster coffee shop, and they give you a super exclusive NFT if you're one of those, or it's like this is
Yeah.
pumpkin spice debut day, and if you bought it on that day, you get one, and then the line's out the door, trying to get in, and then you could just say like, you could have it like closed for a, pumpkin spice only event type of thing. And everyone who bought those, they're the only people who can get in. It's like an exclusive event. If you're one of those people that bought that first thing, like there's all this cool stuff you could do with this. It's what you can package into the NFTs. And what I'm really, I'd really love to see a generic, a kind of multi-purpose NFT validator app that you could just easily validate if you got an NFT or not to get into a thing, or just, every airline ticket's going to be an NFT at one point. That's not a very sexy NFT, but it's just like, that's just the way it's going to be. Not like just the world is full of fungible tokens. Everything's going to be tokenized, whether it's fungible or non-fungible, whether it's unique or not. It's just the way the world's going to go. And people can, the thing that's going to be interesting is when you get to have like the built-in resale value, the resale fee from the original owner built in when you want to like flip stuff. Like let's just say you bought, the original pumpkin spice latte, just you happen to be in that day. I'll try it out, and you get this NFT, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then it's like, okay, you get into this exclusive event like a year and a half later, and you're like, you know what? I moved cities. I'm not even there anymore. Does someone want to buy this? And then you just resell it,
True.
but then you get part of the resale fee. Like that's the kind of stuff that gets, that really starts to elevate this beyond, the old system. I'm sure with these McDonald's free fries or Monopoly pieces, I'm sure there were on Craigslist. I don't know if there was a Craigslist then.
So
I'm
I
sure
I
people
worked
were
at
selling.
McDonald's,
Yes.
and I worked night shifts at the third busiest McDonald's in Canada. And we would
Wow.
have so many unpeeled stickers that I would do I'd do lot cleanup, and I'd
Uh
just go
huh.
around with like a bag just collecting all the stickers. And then
Mm-hmm.
I literally filled out like 100 Monopoly things, all except for the one missing winning thing. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
obviously I'm not gonna get the winning thing, but I had like
Mm-hmm.
a million free food coupons, and I would like sell them at like a fourth of the price to like my buddies and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I think that would be game changer to have like that as all as like NFTs and things like that. And I also really like your idea with like pumpkin spice latte. I think it would get so popular that they'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, sorry, we ran out." They're like, "That's fine, that's fine. Here, let me just give you $5. You just give me the NFT." It's like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess. Like, I think that's how popular it would get too. So like, I think that'd be pretty wild.
Yeah, and people already do like merchandise and things. And for example, Abel Ebenezer Brewing is one of my favorite breweries around here, and they accept every crypto under the sun. The owner is a really cool dude, and they had a they had a limited run like T-shirt back in the before they started taking crypto that just said taxation is theft with their like logo on it and stuff, and like those sold out like hotcakes as collector's items. I keep trying to
Yeah.
get them to do the exact same one except have crypto logos on it as well. And but what if you just don't wear like oversized hoodies or like whatever, well, you just don't wear the stuff but you really want the collectible, digital collectible, and then like, oh, if you're one of those people, then you get like the special like mug with your name on it or whatever it is. I mean, there's just so many things. It's just that like right now, people don't know what to do with NFTs. They just know that you got to make them. Everyone wants to buy these pixelated ones or the apes and stuff like that. And then it's like, okay, where
Hmm.
is it stored? Well, on the Ethereum blockchain, for example, you have the actual NFT part, but it points to an image that's hosted on OpenSea that like they can just get rid of, and like you don't really have it anyway. And what does it do? It doesn't really include anything of value, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
so in the future they just got to round it out. They got to fine tune it, pack all the goodies that come with an NFT into the NFT itself. So that thing you have
Yeah.
on your phone, on your blockchain account of whatever blockchain you got, that thing you got in your wallet actually does all those things. Not just you trust them to, but like it does all those things. And so like when you scan it, it goes bing, it authenticates and says, "Oh yeah, you got this." And once that gets dialed in, that's going to be great. So the NFT rush is not going anywhere, but a lot of the early NFTs are just going to be like the ICO boom. How many of the ICO like that'd be a funny thing. I might actually look that up at some point, but like the what's going on with the like how many ICO tokens have any value today? Like any
I'm gonna
value. I'm
write
not,
that down. That is a great video idea.
yeah, because I'm sure even in highly successful ICOs, like so Ethereum was an ICO and you got Ethereum in exchange for like buying them in the beginning, but those Ether token that's part of the blockchain that's literally super value made out like a bandit if you're in on the ETH ICO. But any other ICO, like they create a token and then they raise bunch of money and it's a success, but like the original token, what happened to that? It's all I'd be willing to guess it's all worthless because
Hmm.
either it just didn't go anywhere or it did go somewhere but you didn't get any part of that, or it did go somewhere and you got to turn in your token for whatever ended up being the eventual thing. Like wasn't EOS
Hmm.
like a Ethereum ICO, I think? And then I guess there's a lot of
I'm
things that
not
were.
sure. Like I know it was created by Dan Larmer, who created Steam. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wasn't
I don't know enough about the original EOS launch.
I'm pretty sure a lot of top 100 or so chains from back in the day started out as an ERC20 token. Like I think maybe even IOTA, although I could be misremembering. It could have been that they just traded it one for one. I'm pretty sure EOS was an ERC20 token that then they traded one for one or whatever they for EOS tokens, like for
Mm.
on the EOS chain. But as far as those original tokens, they're just worth nothing. I'm sure if they even exist anymore. But
I
all
honestly
yeah.
hate it when they launch something and then they have you trade it to something new. That just seems so sketchy to me. Like, I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
probably heard me relentlessly go after So Me, but they
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
finally airdropped after they launched a token on Hive. Now they're just a Hive
Mm-hmm.
interface. Like, what's the point of So Me anymore?
Yeah.
But they airdropped their tokens as a Hive token,
Mm-hmm.
and my $2,000 worth of So Me ended up selling for like $20, was the value of the airdrop that I got. So like
Mm-hmm.
obviously they completely scammed everyone because
Mm-hmm.
we spent all this money. They even overcharged people to buy it through their website than the actual
Yes.
value of the market value. And and then they locked up all of your stuff on their site and they shut off the site for 9 months. And then they said, okay, it's back. We're airdropping you Hive tokens and they're worthless. And it's like, oh, okay, well, clearly that doesn't work very well. I mean, obviously that's not always how it goes, but like I don't like that idea at all of like having to swap to something new. And there's tons of scams that do this too, like Kick token, and a bunch of other tokens. I did this thing called freeze drops where they're like, oh, like you just have the original token, you need to swap over to the new one. And what
Mm-hmm.
they do is like they just charge you a ton and then it doesn't work correctly. And there's all these different things. And then they just take all of your funds out of your wallet basically by like having you repeatedly try. Because like Kick token was worth, I don't know, like $200,000, whatever you had in your airdrop. Most people got, and like all these tokens, they always are crazily valued, or it looks like
Mm-hmm.
they are. And then people go out of their way to try to get that value, and then it doesn't work, you know?
Yeah, and that's and wow, Hilawi was commenting in the live chat saying that I was correct, saying that yes, the EOS tokens became nothing after the switch over. And it's not even if like let's just say So I actually had a discussion with a friend when I'm talking about, oh, I might make some NFTs. I'm like, I'll probably do them on wax because I know Ken Bozek does wax and all this kind of stuff, and it seems cool, seems cheap.
Hmm.
I'll try that. But I'm thinking, like, what happens if wax goes nowhere and I have to switch it over to like a Zilliqa NFT? Well, then I'll just like let them make them burnable and just like give people a swap one for one and just give them on the new thing. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but it does speak of the principle of the fragility of the NFT to begin with, or the token or the ICO to begin with, that the token itself could become worthless. And even if you
Yeah.
bought a bunch of EOS tokens and then you swapped them for actual EOS mainnet tokens and made out like a bandit, there's not a, even if that's great, the original token's not worth very much. It's like a transient sort of value, just kind of goes off into nothing at that point. And so
Hmm.
that's the problem with a lot of these NFTs. Like how many, like what happens in 20 years when every single NFT is run on a complete package, on it, like all the images are IPFS based. There are the image files or whatever. They all, the reference point is all in a decentralized, like ironclad way, and it's all baked in. They're solid. What happens all is OpenSea NFTs at that point. Well, if anyone still cares about those in particular, they will do a burn and remint in a better way. But the point is, all these NFTs that are being created, like 99% of NFTs, are all going to be completely trash in just a few years, even if
Hmm.
even if they're super famous and then you just get to like get a new one. Unless someone keeps the Broken Link NFT because that becomes somehow more valuable because it was like the super original or whatever. Just like
Yeah.
Satoshi's coins. If you get a coin, like imagine if like Craig Wright gets control of, okay, where's a little weird now, but gets control of Satoshi's hoard. Imagine the money you could make by selling people a Satoshi Bitcoin at a 10x markup. Like
Oh, that'd be so crazy. It's like, do you
it would
want the
happen.
original Bitcoin? It'll cost you 10. Like, but I mean, that's not far off from being like, I
Yeah.
have a dollar from 1900, want to
Mm-hmm.
buy it for 100x its value. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that happens all the time, but it's also more so based on the actual value and like the actual metal and things like that as well. So it's a little different, but somewhat similar. I would also say like most people don't realize that someone actually has to buy your NFT too, right? So if the whole market is like tanking,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or like goes down a bunch like we just had, and you're like, all right, trying to sell my NFT, who wants to buy my NFT? Everyone's like, yeah, no, my money is all like going away. I'm not trying to buy your NFT right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be hard to liquidate really quickly if you need to. So like that's
Mm-hmm.
also something that people need to make sure they're aware of. Like I have crypto kitties, ethermons, OX planets from like 4 years ago that no one bought because they're just, no one cares about them and someone has to actually buy it from me. I'm selling it for like a few bucks and no one even is willing to pay that. So like, yeah, I mean, a lot of NFTs are just common, useless, unvaluable. Like a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the like valuable NFTs were rare NFTs at the time that were expensive when you bought them
Mm-hmm.
too. Like, so if you bought like a super rare crypto kitty and it was 3 ETH back in the day, yeah, that might have only
Mm-hmm.
cost $300 when ETH was $100, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
It's
still
still
selling for
expensive.
3 ETH today. And you're like, now it's $10,000. It's like, well, ETH went up. Your crypto
Yeah.
kitty is the same value. Like nothing really changed. You could have just held ETH. Obviously, there's many cases where crypto kitties are super rare and they are going for crazy amounts of money. But a lot of it is also just like ETH went up in value, and like you're just looking at it as if this crypto kitty went from $300 to 9,000. No, Ethereum did that. The kitty did nothing, right? That's what a lot of people are getting messed up with too when they look at like different prices and they compare stuff and they make it seem just like way better than it is, I guess.
Yeah. And one of the things with this whole digital gold rush thing is, uh, it may be a little bit of a philosophical point, but uh, money is just a language for humans to communicate what they value to each other. That's all it is. A technology, a communication method. And
Mm-hmm.
old school money has been really limited. It's been like a very small vocabulary of just like basic things. And that's why you have weird things like nonprofit organizations that have to like ask for donations to like feed people for to do stuff that humanity values but somehow won't pay for. And then with crypto and blockchain stuff, now all of a sudden it's open season on like on vocabulary. All of a sudden you unlimited the amount of expression. So then there's just so much extra value to be communicated that people are just figuring things out. It's a mess because everyone's trying to communicate value. Like, what if this is valuable? What if that's valuable? I don't know. I'm going to throw a
Yeah.
token to this or that. It's just like a big, it's chaos while people figure out how to communicate value in the new kinds of ways. And they're just tokenizing everything in all the wrong ways. And eventually it'll be all the right ways. And that's why we're seeing so much chaos, is because it's a giant explosion of like new stuff. Of the world's never going to be the same, kind of like with the internet, where everything is online, everything's a website, everything's an app, everything's this. And then if you look at how radically different our lives are from 20 years ago thanks to the internet, like in a mature and stable way, by the way. Like, for example, just what we're doing now, like a streaming internet show with like people in the live chat all on their phones, probably going ticka ticka ticka, just like typing away on their various little apps. It's all kind of connected. But this is a mature and stable technology, but it's still radically different from our lives not too long ago. And it's going to be the same thing with, crypto and NFTs and all that stuff.
I was recently watching an interview of when Bill Gates was first like proposing like the internet and stuff to people on like a talk show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you could watch tonight's baseball game on the internet. Have you ever heard of a radio, Bill? It's like,
Yeah.
well, you could rewatch it as many times as you want. Have you ever heard of a tape recorder, Bill? It's like, wow, like people really just did not see that coming at all. And it's like, yeah, like it's the same with a lot of things, but also like the .com bubble. That's where we are with like NFTs
Mm-hmm.
and metaverse tokens and all this nonsense. In the .com bubble, people literally said profits don't matter, fundamentals don't matter, nothing matters as long as it's just it's there and it's on, like, and you can invest in it. That's all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all going to go up. And that's what people are doing when they come into like BSC altcoin investing and all
Yeah.
these like meme coins, metaverse. All of this is just like, it's all nonsense. Like a
Mm-hmm.
great example is Keek VR. It was a metaverse token that was just going up and up and up, and it was just doing so well. And it was like, okay, so what is this? I looked at it. It's like, it's a centralized VR thing for concerts, and the crypto is just what you spend to buy the stuff. And I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
so any crypto could have done this. This is not novel to do anything aside from just it's the Dash that you're using on this platform. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
could have just used Dash. And it's like, that's what a lot of it is. Like, it doesn't even do anything. It's not even like useful or novel. And it's just, people are still throwing all their money at it. And it's just so wild to me. Which also brings me back to like, you mentioned a while ago that Bitcoin's
Mm-hmm.
dominance is like going down, which isn't a bad thing. But I would
Mm-hmm.
still say that if Bitcoin goes down in value, so is almost every other coin. Like, even if we
Mm-hmm.
only have 48% dominance or whatever, it still like leads the market so intensely that like there's no getting out of the Bitcoin's grasp. You can't just be some magical metaverse coin that just gets to go to 1,000x. Well, Bitcoin is
Yeah.
like going down, and you don't get to get out of that. You're just as affected by that as anything else. So like none of these are like magical answers to make $1 million or whatever.
Well, that's the funny thing about like, you know, Bitcoin and Bitcoin maxis and stuff is they found a critical value use case that wasn't being served in the fiat world, and it has created a lot of value. It has kind of captured a lot of value, and one of the reasons why Bitcoin keeps going up but dominance keeps going down is because there's first off just a natural limit of how much one thing can do, but also just there's so much use case to be captured in other things. Like for example, with Ethereum running on like DeFi tokens and stuff, people would do all this stuff on Bitcoin if that was what was available. But they just want to do these things, and Ethereum's there for them, and it's kind of going to be the backbone of the financial system of the future. Even if people want, even if all these things are DeFi tokens that are wrapped versions of Bitcoin, that they're transacting with, it's still going to be on a different chain, and there's a lot of value to that. And as
Hmm.
the that's one of the reasons why Ethereum has kind of kept going up over time, has been in total transaction fees accrued and stuff, like 40 million in fees a day or something crazy like that. It's insane just how much. And
Yeah,
it's
I've spent
because,
like
yeah,
12,000 in fees when it's adjusted, sadly.
oh, that's terrible. Hopefully you made more than 12,000 in those swaps or whatever you got out of
Oh
them.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I would never do it at a loss. I would say 80% of it is just trying to withdraw free tokens that I've earned from
Yes.
social platforms. So I mean, so it's always profitable, but it's just like, well, this is taking a huge chunk
You
of my
take the
profits
hit.
for no reason whatsoever, but okay, thanks.
Yeah, and so if you think about the crypto booms, I mean there was Bitcoin, right? The digital decentralized digital money boom. There wasn't really a payment coin boom. That was kind of what Bitcoin was, and then there hasn't been a boom of like actual payment useful things ever, as far as I know. But then every other boom is like, all right, well the ICO boom that was on Ethereum, then that came and went. Then the DeFi boom that was also on Ethereum, obviously in a lot of other platforms too, but whatever. Then that came and is still, I guess, around. The NFT boom,
Hmm.
that's on Ethereum. Every boom is on Ethereum now, or there might be a point in the future where there's a boom
We
that's
just had
like,
Shiba, so yeah.
yeah, I mean, Shiba was, you know, the next iteration of the shitcoin boom, right? Like the absolute
Yeah.
shitcoin boom. I mean, Doge was happened to be its own chain, but Shiba was part of the Doge boom, and again, Ethereum. And how many of those Doge knockoffs, how many of Coin has dog are on Ethereum? Probably a lot. And I wonder what the
Now there's a bunch
next
of Sheep versions too. Yeah.
metaverse, possibly big ETH boom. What's the next big thing that's coming around that people are gonna like? What about the contractual NFT boom in the future? Which it'll
Mhm.
happen at some point where people are going to start putting like real estate contracts on the blockchain, and not in a not only in a novelty way, but because of the things you can do, because you can sell parts of that and parts of revenue, like those kinds of things. Probably going to be on Ethereum, unless Ethereum gets supplanted or gets competition from a more nimble competitor in the meantime. But it's probably going to be on Ethereum, and so every big
Yeah.
thing is going to be built on something else, and then eventually, you're going to see more diversification out of that. But I don't see any more Bitcoin booms. That doesn't mean I don't see Bitcoin keeping on going up. It doesn't mean I think that Bitcoin's time at the top is over yet. But Bitcoin kind of like after the El Salvador boom, I think that that's like the last hurrah of Bitcoin being a headline stealer rather than just the stable pack leader. Although even El Salvador has a lot of their blockchain infrastructure built on Algorand and stuff, which is pretty funny. But that's a different subject for a different video, I'm sure.
True. I mean, hey, when we get legal tender adopted in other countries and all that stuff, it might
Mm-hmm.
be a little bit of a boom, but it's obvious it's not going to be the first country to adopt Bitcoin, so it's not going to be the same. But yeah, no, I think you're right. And speaking of real estate, like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Realty is ERC20. I mean, they didn't do NFTs. They did, break a house into 10,000 tokens. It is a unique
Mm-hmm.
token, but they did it just tokenization versus NFTs. So, I mean, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Not everything has to be an NFT to achieve the same thing that you could achieve. And
Yeah.
Realty is proof that it works pretty well. It
Mm-hmm.
just might not be like its own unique thing. Like it's not like this is the bottom left quadrant of the house or whatever as the
Mm-hmm.
NFT. It's just there's 10,000 shares of the house and you own one, which is simple enough. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the only issue now is like getting paid your rent and stuff like that. I think they're using XDAI
Mm-hmm.
as a workaround there. But yeah, I mean if you try to sell the house tokens, obviously there'll be issues with gas fees and stuff, but it's definitely the best solution that I've seen.
Yeah, and that's the thing about those things. Like when you have giant property like motions, the thing is that stuff will have to be on something state like nimble and cheap at some point, because the ultimate part of that is when every rental agreement for this house, for example, has the payment address goes to a smart contract which auto distributes to token holders, and that's just literally the way everyone pays their rent. The problem is try doing that on Ethereum when like you want to pay your like
Hmm.
$1,500 a month rent, and then you got to pay like 1,800 because there's 300 plus in transaction fees just to do that. And that's like, or then the token holders for their like $20 a month in rent from this one unit or whatever they get are just going to get shafted on the fees. So
Hmm.
those things at some point would have to be on like a roll up or something, especially because or a completely different chain. I would say something like Solana, but they keep breaking all the time, so probably not. But
Yeah, that's like the centralized Ethereum.
yeah, I mean like Binance Smart Chain isn't, but there's
Well,
quite a
yeah,
few
no,
of
that's
this.
fair, but at least they're not just turning the chain off.
Yeah. So especially because the odds that people are going to use something like Ethereum as their day-to-day money is very low, while at the same time
Hmm.
the odds that their day-to-day money will have to interface with Ethereum at some point is probably very high. So like you're going to have like a Thorchain bridge where you use like you pay say Dash and it swaps the amount to ETH to go into that thing. And of course, then you add the extra time and complexity and cost to that. And then all of a sudden, this awesome idea gets clunky. And so maybe you just have to have a nimble, like, real estate share chain that's its own thing, or it's its own side chain or whatever. It's its own roll up or whatever the hell it ends up being. It's got to be its own thing so that by the time you pay your rent and it auto splits, that the fees for the entire thing is just not going to be that excessive.
Yeah, I think speaking to that, one of the big things going forward for people to consider is
Mm-hmm.
like, do you want to build on a blockchain that's already like set up and then like build on top of that because
Mm-hmm.
that's easier? Or do you want to build something that could maybe work with multiple chains and it's like its own blockchain? It's going to take a lot more work up front, but it'll give you that like flexibility and like you can actually like pivot and do things differently. I think that's pretty important because I think a lot of projects are starting to realize this. I mean, even Brave is ERC20, and that's got all of its problems. So,
Yeah.
I think a lot of projects going forward are either going to start creating their own chains or just find a better solution than always just going with like a token from some other chain. And then, I mean, I think that's great and it makes a lot of sense. But if you're trying to do something like really big and you got to do more than just what the token can do, then you're probably going to
Mm-hmm.
need your own chain to like really do it right, I would say.
Yeah, that's the kind of funny thing with Brave because uh, Brave is like we're doing part of this podcast through Brave, right? I love Brave. The browser's great. Their tipping model idea was really good. Their end user
Hmm.
product, as far as I'm concerned, though, is just the browser, not the actual token. I have no idea what the
Yeah.
Brave token does today, but it was one of those sort of like early era NFT style things where you didn't really need to introduce an extra token, and the only way it worked was through a KYC like walled garden thing to get to actually use it. Kind of defeats the point of not using dollars to begin with.
Unfortunately, that's still kind of the case through Brave browser. You do need to
Yeah,
have your uphold KYC wallet. So yeah.
and then the token being on Ethereum, of course, to actually move the token is pretty insane. I have some Brave floating around that's just not going anywhere because the fees are too high. And
I mean, the
yeah,
beauty of if you do want to use
mm-hmm,
KYC, like I always just swap it on Uphold, like with no
mm-hmm,
fees to swap to Dash, and then I just take out my Dash. That's
yeah.
kind of that's my workaround, but yeah.
Yeah, and of course the sad part about that is the scaling solution is to use centralized infrastructure, right? Is like for example, I'm sure you remember from the publish 0x days. I still occasionally use them, but they're like, oh, we can only withdraw every once in a while because of fees are so crazy, but we'll help you. It'll be much better if you want to withdraw right to KuCoin or centralize it because that's where they have all their stuff. And it's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. I'm glad that that's there, but at the same time, it is a little sad that like literally like this cool decentralized idea ended up just turning into like sign up with your centralized provider kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've always gotten my stuff just directly because maybe just because like
Mm-hmm.
I earn enough. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah, it's been getting more and more of a pain because it's like, okay, well now I need to save up like 3 months worth of earnings before I go to Uniswap and then lose like half of that in the trade or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, so there's definitely issues with that, but I think they're definitely like they're probably taking a lot of hits to be like sending me like $5 of ample. Like that's not cheap for like ETH fees. So they're probably just losing copious amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine, honestly. And I would assume it isn't even profitable because when I used to talk to Dan Bainbridge, I believe his name is, um, the creator and founder, he would
Mm-hmm.
say like, yeah, I mean, a lot of this is just me giving away crypto, um, and then getting sponsors and giving away their crypto. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like they're like making much money. A lot of it is like at a loss. So then there's also the like if ETH 2.0 doesn't solve some of this stuff, I don't know if Publish OX will still be around in a year from now.
Yeah, or they got to use a different chain, which is kind of funny with
Yeah.
like Bit
I mean,
Refill.
luckily it's just donations, right? So they
Yeah,
might be able to just get any other chain. Yeah.
that was funny because Bit Refill, obviously, you could spend on a lot of crypto stuff there, and one of the weirdest things that it ended up, it sounded really weird, but then I kind of wrapped my head around it. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. They added because of consumer demand, um, USDT Tron tether on Tron, which is the most freaking random thing to be adding to like a payment processor. It's like, what the hell is this? I sometimes forget Tron is a thing because I haven't heard it has been headline busting in a while, but it's still there with a lot of activity. And it turns
It's
out,
very cheap to use. Yeah.
yeah, and that's basically it. Is a bunch of people allegedly in Latin America were wanting to get paid in crypto, but wanted like a stable coin, and of course they can't afford like gringo fees, that are on Ethereum, so they just do it on something they can actually afford, and then they just want to spend the money, and it's just like, well, it should have been Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's too slow and expensive, and also it fluctuates, so they'd rather have like a dollar for now, but they can't do actual fiat because you know fiat has all those barriers. So then they're doing like fake fiat, but they can't do the main tether once. They got to do this like cheap knockoff tether thing, and like in a weird kind of a way, it makes this thing make sense. It's kind of strange.
Hmm. Yeah, and I would say like Tron is like the successful version of EOS,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, right? It's basically the same thing. Their both main use case has been gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Just Tron is affordable and EOS is not affordable whatsoever. It's like that's the main difference, really.
Yeah, I don't like. It's funny because the EOS thing reminds me of Voice.com. I'm sorry if I trigger anyone in the live chat by mentioning that name, but like I can't. I'm still wrapping my head around just how much money they had for Voice, and it's like that's like the
The
ultimate.
most
Yeah.
expensive domain purchase of all time.
Yes. Now the
Like,
problem with that is it's not just the domain because they had a lot of money after the domain, but like they threw
oh
all
yeah.
this money into this site, but they were only letting like U.S. users register, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then Hilawi in the live chat says triggered, but then it just, as far as I know, it didn't go anywhere. Like it had a super beta platform that just sucked, and then they just went away, and now it's just Voice.com. They're just, I don't even know what they're using it for, but it was for like.
Well, what they're trying to do now, I don't know if it's actually fully released, but
Mm-hmm.
their new concept is they've re-envisioned voice.com to be an NFT social platform where all content is its own NFT. Complete misunderstanding of NFTs, in my opinion. So it's like I
Yeah.
post on Twitter and I'm just like, hey guys, and that's an NFT of itself. It's like, do you invest in my Twitter post or like very confusing, honestly.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting. I'm trying to wrap my head around that thing because even dumb ideas come from smart ideas, kind of. And
No, that's
I
fair.
I'm just trying to see if like there's value to that idea. So I think everything being on the blockchain is a good idea. It depends on which blockchain, which way. Like if this person liked that person's thing, I don't think that that action needs to be that specific action in real time needs to be on a blockchain forever. That can be pruned later as long as the final state of your entire timeline or whatever is recorded. That's fine.
Hmm.
It just each action can be pruned at a later date. Now, like remember Jack Dorsey's tweet that sold what they made into NFT and all that kind of stuff. Like
Oh,
there is
yeah.
obviously some sort of value to that, or at least temporary speculative kind of value. But what I'm wondering, what I think would be valuable is to be able to turn your tweets into NFTs with a click of a button, but to have them all just in case, right? Like all commemorating this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But everyone to start out as an NFT is excessive, in my opinion. Like, you know,
Because then what's the value? If
yeah.
everything is an NFT, then nothing is an NFT, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's how it works. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
a novel thing if every single person is now doing the thing. It's like, why would I pay for this thing that everyone is doing? Right?
Yeah.
Like that would be like paying for like using Twitter. Well, I guess that's almost like Twitch, but it would be like paying just to like have your posts exist, and it would be like, why would I do this? Like this doesn't even make sense. Like, but to commemorate one might be like useful. Like, yeah,
Well, one
it's
thing's
a
for
weird
sure.
concept.
It is interesting because obviously, if you want like actually decentralized, censorship resistant blockchain social media, everything has to be on a chain somewhere. The thing is about being able to mint an NFT out of your post. Like, let's just say, you know, you have some like drunk tweet or like this is the first time you said like so. For example, people were circulating, uh, people are circulating like people's first ever Bitcoin tweet. And my first one was like
Mm.
in January of 2013 or something like that. And like that's like, oh, that's cool. Like I could imagine selling something like that or make an NFT drop out of that for people that care. If they like if
Mm.
Roger Vere's first crypto tweet would be very valuable. Me not so much. I'm just some
Yeah.
jackass who came around in 2012, 2013, right? But like someone like Roger Ver, that would be valuable. That'd be great to do an NFT. If you have a social media platform that's on chain, on a blockchain, it makes the hosting of the file problem just not even a problem because you can just hit mint NFT and it just references the like on-chain post reference to that actual data, and there you go. If it just it's self-verifying all in the same system, and that's kind of cool if you wanted to do that kind of a thing, or like yeah,
I'm actually
there's just
pulling up
mm-hmm,
Coast.tv because
mm-hmm.
they have an option built in where it says like, has this video been minted into an NFT?
Ah,
No, not yet, but you can do it. I don't know if it's been built in yet, but that's like a big thing for them where it's like right below my video it says video NFT not minted yet.
mm-hmm.
So it must be like in the midst of being a thing. I don't know exactly how that's supposed to all work, but Coast.tv is definitely going to be the first video platform that I know of that's going to have that because it's very front and center. They're going to definitely be pushing it. So that'll be really interesting to see. Sadly, they run on Theta, so they have approvals for all of your posts.
It's
Um,
terrible.
Still works. I'm still using it, but I'm obviously not fond of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, we have approvals for everything we do on YouTube. I guess that's
In a way, yeah.
a different story. Let's just like wrap up on this last story, just because, and I don't really care about the rest of the story, but it's just important. Hong Kong-based CoinSuper allegedly blocks customers' withdrawals. Five clans reportedly filed police complaints after token withdrawals were apparently halted, leaving them unable to reclaim around 55,000 in cryptocurrency and fiat. Which, let's be fair, in the crypto world, 55 grand across the whole platform is kind of peanuts, but it's still for the individual user. That's kind of a lot. This
Hmm.
is not because I care about this news story, but just as another reminder of get your coins
Yeah.
off the goddamn exchanges. you know?
Yeah. Yep. 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 Yeah, it's so key. I mean, I just made a video recently talking about
Mm-hmm.
staking and lending and how for some reason every exchange just says like stake with us, stake, stake, stake. It's all lending. It's so
Mm-hmm.
confusing that they do this. But for that exact reason, I keep telling people like, no, if you want to stake, do it on a wallet so that they're not holding your coins. Because as we know, when an exchange holds your coins, problems happen. I'm going to do a video soon where I'm just going to cover every instance where an exchange has been hacked or with turn off withdrawals, or probably too many
Mm-hmm.
to even find, honestly.
Yeah.
But like that'll be a fun one to just continually remind people like, do not leave your coins on any kind of exchange or service that requires that they hold them, and more importantly, that you ask permission to get them out. That's the key thing.
Yeah. And I like I'm pretty sure this is something I've talked about before, and I don't know the timeline on it. I was saying, I think it was the last podcast I was talking about, like last week I was talking about this, and I predicted it within like 5 to 10 years, but uh, the guest said maybe further than that. But I think that centralized exchanges are on their way out because just the DeFi world is taking over so much that like Uniswap has more volume than Coinbase now, and it's like why or Uniswap had more Ethereum volume than Coinbase had Ethereum volume, I think it was. But like now
Mm,
it's just grown to such an extent that now no one needs a centralized exchange anymore for anything other than to buy fiat. But you don't need to
yeah,
do or to buy with fiat rather. But you don't need an
or
exchange
to
for that.
withdraw.
Yeah, you just need a brokerage service like Uphold, right? Just
Hmm.
something where you just I want to buy it and then they just like fiat in, money out, or like a Moon Pay, which is kind of interesting. Like, doesn't MetaMask have like a credit card plug-in in there or something like that? I'm not sure if it does, but
Um, I'm not sure.
maybe
No.
I'm talking out my ass. I'll have to look into it later. But like, if you just have like a Moon Pay type deal or like a Simplex or whatever integration where you just put in your credit card and then just hit buy and you buy ETH that goes right to your MetaMask and then now you're in crypto. Like now you don't need
Hmm.
that anymore. Like I'm pretty sure crypto exchanges like centralized exchanges are going to be a mix of they just move straight to that, or they're going to be just big DeFi providers, kind of like Binance Smart Chain. Like
Yeah.
smart being the key word here because CZ is not about losing money. And he just
Yeah.
at some point saw the DeFi writing on the wall and was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own DeFi and be at the center of this before my CeFi loses its business. And so everyone who moves to Binance Smart Chain who leaves Binance to go on the BSC ecosystem, he's not losing money because he still has part of that money. He's just in DeFi. And so I think that's kind of going to be the way of the future is the centralized exchanges where people have like balances on these things is just going to be a thing of the past. So if you're a thieving hacker person, you're just going to have to start going after DeFi exploits from now on.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah. And I think like if we can somehow solve like easily like a decentralized way to get in and out of fiat to
Mm-hmm.
crypto, it's like then it's over, right? Or if the US goes through with Fed coin and stuff, it'll kind of suck, but it'll be like, all right, well, at least we don't need centralized exchanges ever again. Like ideally, if they don't like make it impossible to use, because then it's kind of pointless. But
Yeah,
um,
because that's going to be a fun thing is what happens if
yeah,
they do like a Fed coin or whatever that is in this greater blockchain ecosystem, but there's no way it's not going to be permissioned. But then in that case, are they going to block it from being transacted on DeFi platforms? Because
yeah, like there's
yeah,
gonna be so many caveats. Like a lot of people don't know that USDT, like Tether,
mm-hmm,
can just freeze your wallet or reverse a transaction, and they have like
mm-hmm,
complete control. Most people are like, "What? What are you talking about? That's insane. It's on Ethereum. Ethereum
mm-hmm.
is decentralized." It's like, well, I mean, sorry, but
Not the
like,
Tether
uh,
contract apparently.
yeah. So like, yeah, you got to make sure to watch out for that kind of stuff too. And I always kind of like it's hard for me to wrap my head around something like a privacy coin, but it's an
Mm-hmm.
ERC20 or it's like a BEP20 it's like how does that work?
It
Cuz like
doesn't.
I could just look at your wallet, see what you're holding, like how private is that, you know? So that's
Mm.
kind of confusing to me, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure. So, which kind of like the shower thought of the day that sort of popped in there is like, um, I can't wait till law school starts teaching Solidity, because how many contracts are going to be in written in Solidity instead of in like legal terms and paper documents or whatever in the future? Like,
Every job will include programming in the future, right?
yeah, well, not just that, but like specifically on contracts, because contracts will be like built into smart contracts, and instead of finding like legal loopholes and stuff, it's like you just find an exploit in the contract, and then no one's gonna, like, your rental agreement is just gonna be in Solidity, because then you just like pay
Mm-hmm.
and you get the key, like you get issued an
Like even your
NFT.
HR person is like hiring you
Yeah,
through like a contract and like, yeah, it would be wild.
yeah, it's gonna be crazy. That's probably a good point to wrap this whole thing up on. Thanks for coming on. Happy birthday. Hope you got a couple little coins at least from that thing. Anyone who,
Yeah.
let me just do a final super chat check to make sure no one's like left out in the in the cold. Sometimes Cointree lags behind the actual like blockchain. So
Oh, okay, true.
if you know your addresses or whatever, you can check like a mobile wallet, then you could check that. But
Yeah.
otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah.
people will just send you stuff. So where do people go to find out about all the glorious stuff you're working on?
Yeah, you can find all of my links at www.scottcbusiness.com. That also has my Cointree links and all my like referrals and stuff if you want to check those stuff out. You can find me on every platform at Scott C Business. And if I'm not on there, it's probably just under crypto and things. I'm basically
Mm-hmm.
on every platform. And if I'm not, let me know because I should be.
Yeah,
Um,
that's his branding. He doesn't want to be off brand.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you everyone for any donations you sent. I haven't like checked all of them, but I'll check it after and like respond or whatever. And yeah, I turned 27 on Sunday.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm trying to retire before 30 ideally. If
Getting
everything can play
close.
out perfectly, but if not, I've guaranteed that I will retire in 10 years or less. That's kind of my thing. So by
Yeah.
35 at the latest.
40 is the new 30. At least that's what I keep telling myself as I'm getting closer and closer there. But it goes. Oh, yeah, so everyone follow his stuff, subscribe to his stuff. As I always say, like I probably need to expand the crypto shows that I watch, but like I watch Scott's stuff and I watch Naomi Brockwell's stuff. And other than them and like the stuff I put out, like that's where I learn most of the stuff that I do. Like for example, Ken Bozak's channel, I learned a ton of NFT type stuff, but it's the giant breadth of content that's just all the live shows he does. Like it's not as useful. Like I rarely watch his stuff just because of I just go on his show and ask him stuff. That's a lot easier to get the information. But again, I
Yeah,
learn a lot from Scott's videos, so make sure you subscribe to him. And of course, I always learn from Naomi's stuff. So
much
thanks
appreciated.
everyone for watching. Cointr.ee/ScottCBusiness. Drop him any random shit coins that he accepts there that you have some collecting mold or whatever in your wallet. Go throw him some of those. And now it's time for the after party, which I usually only do after the Dash podcast days, but I'll do one tonight too, where anyone can just, it's kind of like a hangout like this, except it's not recorded. It's as many people as you want. And yeah, just ping me, DM me. I'm up the desert links everywhere, like Twitter, Telegram. I'm on Discord, Facebook too, although that's kind of weird. No one watching this is on Facebook, hopefully, but I am. But and then just ask to get in the after party. We'll let you in, and yeah, we'll have a nice little chat. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next week.